It was just past midnight on a cold, rain-soaked Thursday in December, 3 days before Christmas, when Ethan Caldwell, a man worth over $2 billion, walked barefoot into the kitchen of his French Quarter mansion to grab a glass of water. But the moment he flipped on the light, time froze. Sitting on the tiled floor, leaning against the cabinet beside the trash bin, was Maria Alvarez, his 29-year-old housekeeper, quietly eating leftovers from a dented metal lunchbox she tried to hide behind her leg the second she noticed him. Her eyes widened with panic. Her hands shook. And shame filled the room more heavily than the cold New Orleans winter air. "Mr. Caldwell. I'm sorry. I didn't think anyone would be awake." Ethan stood there, stunned. For a man who owned penthouses, cars, boats, stocks, and properties he'd never even visited, this was the first time in years he felt something real hit him in the chest. And what he felt wasn't anger. It was guilt, fear, and a kind of hollowness money had never been able to fix. Because at that moment, in his warm, beautifully decorated mansion full of Christmas lights and silence, Ethan understood a truth he had been running from his entire life. He didn't know anything about what it meant to be human. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in people who still step up when the world turns away, take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because what you're about to see will restore your faith in humanity. We'd love to know, where are you watching from? Comment below with your country and region, and let us celebrate the kindness that connects us all. Now, let's begin. Before we get to that night, let me tell you how we got there. Ethan Caldwell, 39, lived alone in one of the largest historic mansions in the French Quarter. 4 stories, 12 chandeliers, a private elevator, marble staircases, a heated pool, and a wine collection he never touched, bottles worth $10,000 each, sitting behind temperature-controlled glass. On the outside, it was paradise. Inside, it was a mausoleum. There was no laughter echoing in those halls. No warm smell of food. No music other than the soft hum of automation. Not even the sound of footsteps, except for the staff he barely acknowledged. Every day was the same. Ethan woke up to blinds that opened automatically. He exercised in his private gym. Shaved. Put on a tailored suit. Went to his tech company. Came home. Ate alone. Always salmon. Always sparkling water. Always scrolling through emails that could have waited. Friends invited him to holiday parties, charity galas, jazz evenings. He always said, "Maybe next time." But next time never came. Money had simplified his life so much that it had emptied it. And the saddest part? He didn't even notice. Ethan's childhood, where the walls began. Ethan's mother, Linda, was a seamstress in a tiny shop in uptown New Orleans. She raised Ethan and his younger sister alone after their father left when Ethan was 8. Most nights, Linda came home with swollen fingers and tired eyes, but she still tried to smile so her kids wouldn't worry. Ethan grew up watching her iron dresses late into the night, whispering, "Baby, one day you'll live a life where you never have to worry about money." He believed her. And he made that promise his mission. At 16, he delivered groceries. At 25, he opened his first tech startup. At 36, he sold it and became a billionaire. But in the process of getting everything he thought he wanted, he built walls so high around himself that nobody could get in, not even him. And then there was Maria. Maria had been working in his mansion for 2 years. Quiet. Hard-working. Always wearing that same loose navy blue uniform. Black hair tied back in a simple ponytail. Hands rough from scrubbing floors in too many houses. To Ethan, she was almost invisible. "Maria, the towel is crooked," he'd say without once lifting his eyes from his phone. She always smiled politely, quietly corrected whatever needed fixing, and moved on. But there were small things about her Ethan had begun noticing without meaning to. The way she arranged the poinsettias he bought for Christmas. The way she brewed coffee exactly the way he liked it, strong, with a hint of chicory. The way she smiled, a soft, genuine smile, whenever he actually said, "Good morning." A smile he realized he didn't see often in his world. But nothing prepared him for that night. The night of the scraps, Christmas changed everything. It was almost midnight. The mansion was dark except for the glow of the Christmas tree in the living room, red and gold lights twinkling like tiny stars. Ethan padded down the stairs in slippers, heading to the kitchen. He turned on the light. And there she was. Maria, on the floor, eating cold leftovers from a dented lunchbox beside the trash bin. She stood up so fast she almost fell. I didn't mean to, I was just. Ethan froze. Something heavy and unfamiliar tightened in his chest. Are you hungry, Maria? His voice barely came out. She lowered her eyes, clutching the lunchbox against her chest like a shield. I work in 4 houses, Mr. Caldwell. I leave here and go to Mid-City. Then Garden District. Then Algiers Point. I get home around 10 p.m. Sometimes I don't have time to eat. And I'm saving for my daughter's school. She's 3. Sophia. The tuition went up. The world spun. 2 years she had worked for him. 2 years. And he hadn't known she had a daughter. He hadn't asked. Hadn't cared. Hadn't seen her as a person. Just a shadow moving through his home. You eat dinner here from now on, he said, voice trembling. That's not a request. It's a rule. She looked at him, eyes filling with tears. Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. But Ethan knew one thank you couldn't erase 2 years of invisibility. Not even close. The days after, the guilt that wouldn't let him sleep. Ethan couldn't get the image out of his mind. Maria, hungry, hiding scraps, in his house worth more than most people would make in their lifetime. He started asking small questions. Do you live far? In the lower 9th ward, Mr. Caldwell. How long is your commute? About an hour and a half. 2 buses. And your daughter? Does someone watch her? My mother. I raised Sophia alone. Her father left when he found out I was pregnant. Never saw her. Her voice cracked. Ethan felt something inside him break. I'm sorry, Maria. She forced a small smile. Life goes on, Mr. Caldwell. It has to. But Ethan knew those words hid a world of pain. The visit that changed him. A week later, Christmas week, Ethan did something no one expected. Maria, he said softly, I want to visit your home. If that's okay. Her eyes shot open. But Mr. Caldwell, my house is very simple. You won't like it there. I want to go. Please. That Saturday, Ethan parked his luxury SUV on a narrow street in the lower 9th ward. Houses with peeling paint. Kids playing football barefoot. Neighbors chatting on porches. Christmas lights hanging in uneven lines across fences. People stared at the car. Then at him. Maria stood at the door of a small house painted faded blue. She looked nervous, twisting her hands. Come in, Mr. Caldwell, and sorry for the mess. He stepped inside. The house was tiny, 4 small rooms. A kitchen. A cramped living room. 1 bedroom for Maria and her daughter. Another for her mother, Lucia. There were cracks in the ceiling. The old fridge made a rattling noise. Only 2 burners of the stove worked. But the house had what his mansion never did. Life. Photos taped to the wall. Sophia's crayon drawings stuck to the fridge with worn magnets. The smell of red beans cooking on the stove. A small nativity set on the table. A plastic poinsettia. Laughter. Sophia ran to him, hugging his leg. Mommy said you're her boss. Are you rich? Maria flushed with embarrassment, pulling the girl back. But Ethan knelt to her level, something he realized he had never done with anyone in years. I am, he said softly. But do you know something I learned? Money doesn't make you rich. Your mom is the richest person here, because she has you. Maria's eyes filled with tears. She tried to hide them, But Ethan saw. Lucia, sitting on the sofa mending an old skirt, watched Ethan with cautious respect. "You want some coffee, sir?" "Yes. Thank you." She poured it into a mismatched cup, the only one left. It was the best coffee he'd ever had. Not because it was fancy, but because it was given with sincerity. Sophia grabbed his hand. "Come see my drawings." She showed him a drawing of a small house with a big sun and flowers. 3 figures, herself, her mom, and her grandmother. No father. No others. "It's beautiful," Ethan whispered. And there, in that tiny living room with peeling paint and the smell of Christmas spices in the air, Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. In the months that followed, Ethan's life flipped upside down. Maria, Sophia, and Lucia began having dinner at his mansion. He learned to make gumbo with Lucia. He paid for Sophia's preschool. He bought toys. He fixed Maria's house. He started talking to people he'd never seen, the doorman, the cleaning crew at his company, the delivery drivers. And every conversation was a punch to the gut. "My son is sick, but my insurance doesn't cover it. I live 2 hours away. I wake up at 4 a.m. I've worked here 12 years and no one ever said thank you." Ethan realized his fortune had been built on people nobody saw. And it hurt. So one morning, he called a meeting with his business partners, Jason and Caroline. "I want to cut our profit margin by 15%, he said. "And invest it in our employees. Full healthcare, childcare assistance, real food stipends, training programs. We can afford it." Silence. Jason pushed his chair back. "You're joking." Caroline slammed her hand on the table. "You've lost your mind. Investors will panic. We'll lose millions." Ethan stared back, unshaken. "I'm not building my wealth on people who can't afford to eat." Jason stood abruptly. "This is emotional nonsense. You're confusing charity with business." "No," Ethan said quietly. "I'm fixing what I helped break." The fight was brutal. They threatened to remove him. The story leaked to the press. Billionaire turns activist after Christmas encounter with housekeeper. Some people applauded. Others mocked him. "He's doing PR. He wants attention. This won't last." And when he launched his first social program, it failed instantly. "Another rich guy pretending to care," people muttered. Ethan came home one night devastated. Maria made him coffee. "Change hurts, Mr. Caldwell," she said gently. "But you're on the right path." "And what if I'm wrong, Maria?" "You're not. You're just learning. And learning is painful." He started over, quietly, humbly, listening instead of speaking. Slowly, things began to shift. Maria became coordinator of a new program. Invisible Mothers Project. A foundation for single working moms, offering free childcare, training, and psychological support. Sophia got a scholarship to a private school. Lucia finally retired after decades of cleaning houses. But not everything was peaceful. Some NGO workers looked down on Maria. "She's only here because the boss likes her," they whispered. Maria heard it. Never responded. Until Ethan found out. He called a meeting. "Maria is here because she's qualified. Because she understands these women better than any of us ever will. And if anyone has a problem with that, the door is open." No one moved. Many lowered their heads. A new home, a new Christmas. The mansion changed. What had once been a cold showroom now had life. Maria, Sophia, and Lucia moved in. Ethan turned a guest room into a playroom for Sophia. Lucia cooked on Sundays, red beans, cornbread, roast chicken. Ethan invited staff members, neighbors, anyone who had no family for the holidays. Rich, poor, it didn't matter. It was family. A year later, he sold the mansion. Bought a modest 4-bedroom home in Lakeview, warm, simple, human. He opened a small publishing house dedicated to real stories from invisible people. The first book? Maria, the Mother No One Saw. It became a bestseller in 3 weeks. Ethan began giving talks, not about money, but about humanity. I had $2 billion, he said. And absolutely nothing. Now I have less money, and everything I ever needed. Because he had finally learned. Life only makes sense when you share it. The final Christmas dinner. On a quiet Saturday night before Christmas, Ethan, Maria, Sophia, and Lucia were sitting around the dinner table, eating Lucia's famous Christmas pasta. Sophia talked excitedly about her ballet recital. Maria showed pictures from the foundation, proud smiles, new beginnings. Lucia laughed softly as she poured sweet tea. Ethan looked around. The lights on the tree reflected in everyone's eyes. He smiled, a real, warm smile he barely recognized in himself. Maria, he said. Yes, Mr. Caldwell. Thank you. For what? He reached for her hand. For teaching me how to live. She squeezed his fingers, eyes shining. We saved each other, Ethan. And it was true. It wasn't Ethan who saved Maria. It was Maria, and Sophia, and Lucia, who saved him from the emptiness of wealth, from a life without warmth, without belonging. Because at the end of the day, life only means something when we live it together. Which part of this story touched you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to read them. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, so you won't miss any of our next emotional stories.